This is my take from podcast. If you want to listen summary of podcast, start with a free trial for detailed summaries on Apple Podcasts and Spotify using link in descriptions and support with tips on Patreon. Here is key point discussed in podcast Jürgen Klopp. Would you go back to manage LFC? Nay. The real reason I fell in love with Liverpool. You know, what really stood out to me from Jürgen Klopp's story is how his upbringing shaped him into the person he is today. His mom's unconditional love and his dad's high expectations created this mix of confidence and a caring nature that's so evident in how he leads his teams. It's fascinating to see how those early influences have played out in his management style, where he treats each player as an individual, understanding their unique backgrounds and needs. Take for instance how he handled Trent Alexander-Arnold and James Milner differently. With Trent, he had to educate him more, given his younger age, whereas with James, he knew he could rely on his experience and discipline. This approach isn't just about football, it's about understanding people and what makes them tick. Klopp emphasizes that leadership is not about being consistent in how you treat everyone the same, but rather about being consistent in understanding and supporting each person's unique need. What's also striking is how Klopp's own experiences, like becoming a father at 20, have informed his approach to managing players. He recognizes that each player has their own story, their own struggles, and that's what he tries to tap into to get the best out of them. It's not just about the football, it's about the person. And that's what makes his leadership style so effective. Even in his early days as a player, Klopp was often made captain, despite not being the most skilled. It's clear that his coaches saw something in him, a natural leadership quality that went beyond just his football abilities. And when he eventually became the manager of minds, it was because, in a moment of crisis, the players themselves didn't trust the previous manager. And Klopp was the one who had to deliver the news. It's a testament to the trust and respect he commands, even in the most challenging situations. But as long as you cannot do that, just trust me. And what's fascinating is that he didn't just stop at giving them a pep talk. He actually created an environment where they could build their confidence through their actions on the pitch. He's got this great approach where, if a player posts something questionable, he'll call them out in front of the team, not to shame them, but to make them explain themselves. And the effect is that nobody wants to be in that situation, so they just don't do it again. But what really resonated with me is how Jürgen Klopp deals with disappointment. He's had his fair share of near misses, but instead of letting it cripple him, he uses it as an opportunity to learn and grow. He's got this amazing mindset where he sees himself as a constant trier rather than a constant winner. And then there's the whole Manchester United saga. It's fascinating to hear Jürgen Klopp's take on why he turned down the job. He talks about how it wasn't his project and how he didn't want to just bring in big-name players without a clear vision for the team. Instead, he chose Liverpool, where he could build something from the ground up. He talks about how it's not just about buying time or solving short-term problems, but about planning for the long-term and developing a clear vision for the future. It's often the tiny incremental improvements that add up to make a huge difference. That's staggering. And on the flip side, being just one worse every day can bring you close to zero. It's all about those small daily habits that can either work for you or against you. When he first took over, he didn't try to overhaul the entire team or system. Instead, he focused on making small strategic changes to get them stable and organized. He gave them a few key ideas to work with, and then they just ran with it. Literally, he told them to run their socks off and show the people that they wanted to change something. And it worked. But what's also interesting is how our guest talks about the importance of mindset and psychology, especially after a loss. He says that if you don't learn from a defeat, it's a real defeat. But if you do learn from it, it's incredibly valuable information. And then there's the idea of the Liverpool way, this sense of community and responsibility that comes with being part of the club. Our guest talks about how the club means more to the people than just football, and how that's a responsibility that the players and staff have to take seriously. It's not just about winning games, it's about giving your absolute all, and making the people enjoy the football you play. He talks about how he wanted to make it as easy as possible for the guy coming after him, and how he's genuinely happy to see the team succeed even after he's gone. You know, when Arne Slot took over at Liverpool, he didn't try to radically change everything right off the bat. Instead, he made a few decisive tweaks to a team that was already good in many ways, but just needed that extra push to win the league. And that's exactly what he did, leading them to a championship by a significant margin. It's a great example of how sometimes it's not about putting your own stamp on things, but rather about getting the best out of what you already have. Being a football manager is already a challenging job, but add in the pressures of the Premier League, media scrutiny, and social media, and it's a whole different ball game. You've got to be prepared for anything, from unexpected problems to sudden changes in the team's dynamics. And that's where having a confident and experienced manager like Arne Slot comes in, someone who knows exactly what they want and isn't afraid to make tough decisions. In fact, it can sometimes create more problems than it solves. Just look at the challenges that come with integrating new players into the team, managing their expectations, and dealing with the pressure to perform. And then there's the emotional side of things. That's a tough challenge for any manager, and it's not something you can prepare for. As a manager, you've got to work with a transfer committee, negotiate with other teams, and make tough decisions about who to sign and who to let go. But here's the thing, it's not about being the king of the club or having ultimate power. It's about working together with your team, listening to different perspectives, and making decisions that are in the best interest of the club. And if that means having disagreements or arguments along the way, so be it. That's just part of the job. Well, let me tell you, it's not always easy being a manager. You've got to make tough decisions, and sometimes that means disappointing players. As a manager, you've got to be the energy giver, the one who motivates and inspires your team. And if you're not feeling it, then it's time to move on. It's not about rebuilding or waiting for someone to give you the sack, it's about knowing when it's time to pass the torch to someone else. You know, what really stood out to me from this conversation is the way Jürgen Klopp approaches leadership and management. He's not just focused on tactics and strategy, but on building a sense of togetherness and community within his team. He believes that's just as important as the X's and O's of the game. For him, it's about creating an environment where everyone feels valued and respected, from the players to the kitchen staff to the gardener. He wants his team to be more than just a group of individuals, he wants them to be a family. And it's not just about grand gestures or team-building exercises. It's about the little things, like knowing everyone's name, showing respect to every single person in the organization, and creating a sense of shared purpose. He wants his team to feel like they're all in this together, and that they're working towards something bigger than just winning games. And he's not just talking about it, he's lived it, from his time at Dortmund to his time at Liverpool. What's also fascinating is how his personal life and values inform his approach to leadership. His faith, his family, his desire to make a positive impact on the world, it all comes together to shape the kind of leader he is. And it's clear that he's not just driven by a desire to win, but by a desire to make a difference in the lives of the people around him. He's already accomplished so much, but he's not resting on his laurels. He's still hungry to learn, to grow, and to make a positive impact on the world. So let's dive into what really stood out to me from this conversation. The way Jürgen Klopp talks about leadership is incredibly insightful. He emphasizes the importance of focusing equally on the people, the team, and the togetherness, not just on tactics and strategy. This approach is what sets him apart as a leader, and it's something that has clearly inspired many, including our host. What's also fascinating is how Klopp views the impact of his words and actions. He believes that in the big moments, it's often not what he says that makes the difference, but rather the circumstances beyond his control. He's at peace with this, acknowledging that sometimes his words have the desired impact, and sometimes they don't. This acceptance is a valuable lesson for any leader. The conversation also touches on Klopp's relationships with other managers, like Pep Guardiola and Pep Lijnders. It's clear that he has immense respect for them, and it's interesting to see how he views their strengths and what they bring to the table. For instance, he describes Pep Lijnders as an extreme well of energy, which is a quality he admires. His reaction is priceless, especially after having unknowingly prepared for the conversation by watching behind-the-scenes footage of past matches against them. It's a fun moment that humanizes him even more. What really resonates, though, is the consistent narrative from those who know him that Klopp is the same man on and off camera. He's someone who brings people together, is extremely likable, yet maintains high standards and is incredibly passionate. This authenticity is a key part of his success, and why people are willing to go the extra mile for him. It's a quality that we can all learn from, regardless of our roles or aspirations.